Let us start chapter 8 of our highway design class. It is distresses in flexible pavement. Distresses means like the damage in pavements. So two types of distresses occurs. One is major, other one is minor. So in this video we will do only major distresses. Now, why it is major? Major means like it is like vital, and when we design pavement, we consider these distresses, or we calculate these distresses, and if the predicted distress is less than our desirable value, that means the pavement is then good. So when we design pavement, you will learn in your next chapter or in future chapters. When we will see that when we will design the pavement, we will see that how can we calculate these distresses. So our first one I listed here is alligator cracking. So by alligator cracking, you can understand what does it means. This means it will look like an alligator. Your book language is series of interconnected cracks looking similar to a chicken wire or back of an alligator. Or instead of talking, let us see a photo that will show you clearly. Yes, so this kind of crack, I believe that all of you have seen this kind of crack in pavements anywhere in US or whatever. So this kind of crack is called alligator crack. Now, how this crack occurs, let me show you by schematic. Yes. So, if I have says pavement slab is this, and if I apply some load in the pavement, then this slab will bend. This slab will bend, and there will be some tensile strength at the bottom of asphalt. At the bottom of asphalt, some tensile strain occurs. So when there will be millions of traffic one after another, then this tensile strain is repetitive. It will repeat again and again. So then what will happen? After some time, some small crack will start at the bottom of the asphalt. And then with the continuation of the traffic, this crack will propagate to the surface. This crack will propagate to the surface. After it propagates to the surface, say this is my pavement, say there is a crack here, then after some time there will be another crack here, another crack here, another crack here. Then with time they will be connected. They will be connected and they will form so many alligator crack. So again this photo is not actually correct. This will, most crack will be in the along the wheel path, mostly in the wheel path, then propagates and the whole pavement will be cracked. So that is alligator crack. Now why this crack occurs, you so this crack, you can see that all over the pavement it is propagated. Now, so how can or why this crack happens? It's simple is that if you can see this part, this pavement here, if your layer is like thin, if the layer is thin layer, the tensile strength will be higher. So if your asphalt layer thickness is less, then this crack occurs. Also sometimes it occurs if your underneath base sub-base layer, the base and sub-base you are using here, if it is weak, this crack also occurs. Now, what is the remedy of the crack? As this crack occurs at the bottom of the asphalt layer, if you just put something on top of the asphalt, it will not help. So you need to do full depth rehabilitation. What is that? Take the entire asphalt surface off and then put new material. Again, this crack shows at the surface, but this crack started at the bottom of asphalt. So if you just place a thin layer of asphalt on top of this, it will not help. That means the overlay. The overlay you typically see outside that when a pavement is deteriorated, your city agency, your DOT, whatever, they apply a thin layer. So that will not help this crack. Okay, our next crack is top down longitudinal crack. This, oh, before going to this crack, if I go back to alligator, this alligator crack sometimes we call uh, I wrote here no bottom of fatigue crack. Why bottom up? Because it starts at the bottom and comes up. Fatigue. Why it is fatigue? Because it occurs due to the repeated traffic load. So sometimes we call bottom of fatigue crack or simply fatigue crack. So if somebody says fatigue crack or bottom of fatigue crack or alligator crack, all are same thing. Okay, next one is top down longitudinal crack. So this crack is also a fatigue crack, but mostly we do not use the term fatigue for this case. So it is called top down longitudinal crack or simply top down crack. What is this crack? If I go to this slide again, if I take a new, so this crack occurs, say I have a pavement layer here. If I apply some load by a wheel load, then my asphalt layer will deform. So tensile strain will be at the bottom of asphalt layer. At the same time, there will be some tension in the surface and some shear force, some shear force. So there will be tension on the surface, and at the same time, at the same time there will be some surface. Sorry, this will be shear, and this one will be tension and the surface. So the combined effect of this will produce crack here and here. So both way. So if you see a pavement and your wheel goes this way and this way, sometimes you see this kind of long crack, or here also. That is called top down longitudinal crack, or top down crack simply. So again, how this crack occurs due to the surface tension and surface shear. Now again, this the mechanism of this crack is still under research. So exactly we do not know, like what is the contribution of the surface tension and surface shear. Exactly we do not know, but we only use the surface tension to calculate this crack. Now with time, when the research will improve, we will know better. So that is the definition of a top-down longitudinal crack, and why it happens, again due to repeated tensile or shear strain at the surface. Now how can we treat this crack? So at this crack occurs at the surface. If you apply thin layer of asphalt, no, if your crack does not, or if your crack did not penetrate to the full depth, you can take the top deteriorated surface off and put new material. If your crack penetrate to the entire depth, you need full depth rehabilitation. That means you have to take the entire surface layer off and put new material. So depending on the severity, you can treat this crack by a thin layer of asphalt or full depth. Our next major crack distress is rotting. Rotting means deformation, permanent deformation in asphalt. This photo will tell you this. Yes, you can see that deformation here, permanent deformation. When I measured it, yeah, this is me. If you can see, when I measured it, it was about 2.5 inch huge. Typical terminal typical threshold value is only 1 inch. That means if the deformation is more than 1 inch, the pavement is considered failed. But this pavement has about 2.5 inch. As this is a local road, so maybe still we are using this pavement. It's close to my house. Okay, so how it occurs, if I show you by some schematic. So pavement has defined layer. If I apply some load in the pavement, this layer will deform, your base layer will deform, sub-base layer will deform, your soil layer will deform. So all of this layer, this and this, all will deform. So the summation of this will be delta 1, delta 2, delta 3, delta 4, whatever your number of layer is. So it is the summation of all layers. It's a permanent deformation. Now you can see that in the total deformation, all of them contribute. So to repair this pavement, you have to know the cause of this and cause of this uh, deformation. If it is only the surface layer, you can take this layer off and put new layer. But if this layer are the problem, then you have to change this one. So it is very complicated. The reason is you have to know the reason why the permanent deformation occurs. Okay, so if I go, okay, again you can see here why it occurs. It may occur due to the wearing of asphalt surface. If your tire wears the surface, but this is very minimum. Mostly it's particle deformation of the layer. Sometimes shear deformation occurs. Now, what is shear deformation? It's very important to know. Shear deformation is like when you apply load on the pavement, it will try to deform. But if your material is so compacted, if your material is so compacted, that means there is no air void. If there is no air void in the material, that means it cannot compact, it cannot deform. Then what happens? Material moves this way, material moves this way, so this will looks up. Even sometimes you saw that if the pavement is here, here there will be some deformation, but at the same time here you can see some up, metal goes up. That means the surface looks like this, up, then deformation, then again up, then this is your, the wheel path is this. Sometimes you see this kind of going up. So this is called shear rutting. Why it happens? If the air void in this material is very less, that means you compact it so much, you are thinking that if you can compact more, your pavement will be better. No, you must maintain some optimum amount of air void. If it is air void is so less, then there will be shear rutting. So this perma, so is if material moves up, then obviously there will be some deformation here. Okay, so we learned writing, and then how to get rid of this. Again, it's very complicated because you do not know what is the cause. You have to know the cause. But if it is a small amount of writing, say 1/3 of an inch, very small, then you can ignore this, because 1/3 of inch is nothing. If it is more than like this, then uh, you can fill it up, or you can take some part off and put new material. And if the problem is base layer, you have to do full depth reclamation, and that means you have to take the entire pavement off and find the problem area and put it back. Okay, the last one in the major distresses is transverse cracking. Transverse is also called transverse top down surface cracking, also called thermal cracking, because it occurs due to temperature decrease, and it occurs at the surface, so sometimes we call transverse top down. Okay, now why it occurs? Due to temperature only. It is not due to load, it is due to temperature. So this is our pavement. So if temperature decreases, this material will contract. This material will contract. Once it contracts, then there will be some tensile strain in the material. Tensile stress or strain, whatever, tensile, or say some thermal stress. So this material has a capacity. If my temperature decreases a lot, then the developed tensile stress will be very high, and suddenly it will crack. So it will crack at the surface. Why? The decrease in temperature is the maximum at the surface. So it cracks and then it propagates the downward quickly. Maybe a single night is good enough. If there is snowfall and the temperature decreases a lot, then the developed tensile stress is, that uh, alpha delta t, and there's a equation, E alpha delta t. Using this equation, we can calculate this. Say if the developed thermal stress is more than the capacity, the tensile capacity, then the crack starts here and propagate very quickly. A single night is good enough. So this is called transverse thermal cracking. Okay, so there is some photo here. You can see here this two pavement. The traffic goes this way, is transverse, but this two pavement is still under service. It is in our city, Okay, so how can we solve this? Like, if the penetration is very small, you can take that part off and put new material. If that penetration is full depth, then you have to take the full depth off. Now, so these are the four major cracks that we consider when we design pavement. So before um, okay, in the next video we will discuss the minor sorry we will discuss the minor crack, but minor distresses. But before that, something to tell you, the summary. So we know the modulus, the modulus of material. If the modulus is very high, thermal crack is a problem. Thermal crack is a problem because developed thermal stress is E alpha delta T. If your E is high, developed stress will be higher. So if you use higher E, higher or stiffer material, that is bad for thermal. At the same time, if your E is less, due to applied load, your tensile strain will be high. So E less, that means this will be high. That is bad for alligator crack. So bad for alligator because metal crack. At the same time, if your E is less, that is bad for rotting also. There will be more rotting. Again, at the same time, if your E is less, that surface tension will be high. Surface tension will be high. So that is bad for top down also. That for top down also. Okay, the summary is, if your E is say less, good for thermal. If okay, again to, so if your E is less, good for thermal. If your E is less, bad for this, bad for this, bad for this. So this is how we need to depending on the reason, we should select material based on this. So here I just gave you some broad idea. When we will design pavement, we might see more. If you read the book, or if you analyze it, you will understand better. But very briefly is that, not stiffer material is always good. It depends on the temperature, and at the same time, if a material is like less steep, then that is good for thermal because less thermal cracks occur. Okay, we will stop here. In the next video, we will see some minor distresses that we do not consider during design, but we consider during mixed design or during maintenance time we consider those. So again, major distresses mean the distresses that we consider during design. It is alligator crack, top down crack, rotting, and thermal crack. So in the next video, I'll discuss the minor distresses. See you then.